Hi and welcome to this new little tutorial. I thought it might be interesting to get back a little bit and talk about templates again, but this time, as you can see here, the screen is pretty empty. We are going to set up a template from scratch. Okay, so basically everything from setting up folders to setting up the template, routing and whatever. Okay, so just let's hop into it, and at the very first I just want to make one thing sure, is to talk about the folders itself, the setup of how I set up a project. So as you can see, this little list here, this is I just call it template tutorial. The general project folder. So inside this project folder you see these folders inside here. So let's just quickly go through these. This one is my Cubase folder. This is the project Cubase folder. Inside this there goes everything what is related to the Cubase. Yeah, there's obviously the audio folder in there and the untitled backup file, because I didn't save the project yet. And so everything what is related to Cubase, and in the very beginning when I'm asked to set up open a project or create a new project, this goes in here. Okay, so then I got a little folder, it's called dev stuff, developer stuff. So I put in everything I get from developers, starting from pictures from a game, movie scenes, whatever. Basically everything which is material, which gets me info for the project. The next one is the MIDI folder, which is pretty obvious. I put in MIDI tracks in there, obviously, and yeah, that's basically it. The MP3 folder, I think it's self-explanatory. I just put in preview files, once I finished working on a project and did a final render, but not really like the final mix, but just a preview for the client. Everything goes in here, and obviously also general MP3 files. The recordings folder, just in case the track I worked on was recorded with a real orchestra and we have to do, or I have to do dubs, everything goes in here. So basically external recordings like whatever drum tracks, orchestra tracks, vocal tracks, or whatever. So I store it in here. The next one is obvious too. It's a score, so everything goes in here, like pre-scoring, sheet paper, stuff for the orchestrator. The videos out folder is basically a folder I set up when a client wants to see a movie scene with the music implemented. So I just create a little preview, and this goes all in here. Then I got this wave master folder. I usually, when I finish the project, I render the track and put it into the waves mix folder, and after that I open it in a special wave editor and make sure the track is cut right. So I always have to I have this ritual, when I just have a track finished, it has to go into an external editor, and I have to make sure that the starting point is right. It has to feel right, that I have like whatever 500 or 300 milliseconds before the track starts, and not like 5 seconds. There's nothing worse than when you send a track to a client and it's like so you know what I mean. So after that, the track, when it's edited and the way I wanted to send it perfectly to the client, it goes into the wave master file, wave master folder, sorry. The last one is obvious too, it's wave stems. So if a client is asking for stems, I can just quickly render out stems from my project and put them all in here. So basically this is very important to me because it is a complete organized workflow I have no chaos in my work in progress, and it's very, very important for me. I'm not really the most tidiest guy, you know, but in terms of working, it has to be perfect for me, because it has to be super tidy, because I never want to get into the situation of losing files, or you know, like looking for something and then I have a WAV file which is probably on another hard disk and whatever. So enough for this. This is how I basically set up the project. Okay, so now let's get back to Cubase and start here. I already mentioned it in the beginning. I didn't save the project yet, okay? So this is what I'm going to do now, because it still says untitled. And by the way, I'm in on a Cubase 6.5, just to let you know right away. I always forget to say this. Okay, so now I want to save my project. I mostly try to use the mouse and not use my usual shortcuts, because it can get a bit irritating when I just, you know, do something and something pops up on the screen and I forgot to say it. So I try to mostly use the mouse. So as for this, I just use the save as and save it as scratch template, and I do a very important thing. I put a little minus and a 0, 1 behind it. Why? Because when I save it now, and I can hit Command and Alt and the S key, and please take your may have your attention on this little number here. When I hit Alt and Command and S, you see that I saved it with a continuous number. Okay, so this is very important for me, because I don't like to save my complete session into one single file, because it happened a lot of time during all these working years that I lost projects, or they got corrupted and how you say this, corrupted, yeah. And I also didn't have accidentally didn't have auto backup active, so it's pretty hefty when you just work on a project or track for like 1 or 2 days, and then suddenly dun, dun, the project is corrupt and you can't open it anymore. So I got used to not saving anything with Command S or yeah. So I always try to use, or I always do it. I don't try. It's really a ritual now. So I do it for like, I don't know, several years now. So it's almost automatically, and this is very important to me, because after every step I finished, I can hit Alt, Command and S and got a new version. And if I just open my my folder again, you can see it created new files. And to be honest, I don't care how many hundreds files I got in there, because in the end, when the project is finished, I can still delete some of the stuff I think I wouldn't need anymore, but usually I keep everything. Okay, so just in case somebody's asking, can you go back to the point where you just started to work on the whatever woodwinds, and I can say yes, sure, and just deliver the track or the project file or whatever right away without even thinking where I have it. The only thing which takes a little bit time is to find exactly the spot, but this shouldn't be really a problem. Okay, so let's just get started. One thing I should also mention is that I'm not setting up now like 400 or 500 tracks inside this template. So I'm just going, just trying to do it a little bit more in the symbolic way, you know, like to get the most basic stuff into the project, into the template. And because I think it's pretty obvious when you have like 5 basic string programs in there, what I mean, it depends on you, what you want to load and use. Okay, so you don't have to use the approach I do or the instruments I mostly work with. So let's just go ahead and do it in a basic way. Okay, so first, usually, before starting with the instruments, I think it's the most important thing to get the project itself right. So I just tick this little icon here and I do this split screen, and I'm adding a ruler track here, and this is always the first thing I'm taking care of. So the first, the main bar up here is always bars and beats for me, and the second one is always seconds. So and no matter how I zoom in or out, I always have the perfect overview of the bars and the seconds. Okay. Next thing I do is add a signature and a tempo track. Okay, so these are the most important things for me, the essential things that I always have a overview and full control on the signature, on the tempo, and this little information ruler with the seconds and the bars. Okay, so let's just start with the strings. I always start with the strings, and for this I'm loading contact 5. Do you want to create a MIDI track? Create. Okay, so I just never take attention to this VST instruments folder unless I'm going to automate something, or so it always stays. I'm ignoring this. I'm just taking care of this MIDI file for now, and everything is connected here, and it's connected here already. It goes to the first contact 5 instance on channel 1. So what I'm doing now is using the Symphonia 1 strings, and this is the sustain dynamic patch, so I can use my mod wheel for dynamic control, because I think, as I mentioned before in tutorials before, the most essential thing to me is to make sure the dynamic is right, and the dynamic is always, or the best way to control the dynamic is, to me, is the mod wheel. You know, like a string player is always able to change the dynamic while bowing and not on the start point of every note. Okay, so this is the most important thing to me, to get it all of control with the mod wheel. Okay, so I created this little thing here. What I do now is, let's just load the most essential things here. So I'm going with a staccato patch, and let's just load a spiccato patch. Let's load the short one. Okay, let's close these. So, and obviously a pizzicato. And a tremolo patch. Let's just use the legacy tremolo. Tremolo, yeah, that has to be invented yet. And the Sordino looped. Okay, so I think that's how I usually set up my stuff. I always tend to have all instruments of the same category. For instance, this is Symphonia 1. I load them all into one contact instance. I don't really care if the track is just, if the contact instance is just filled with 6 instruments or with 12 or with 10. It's always the perfect overview to have all the instruments of the same sample library inside one, not the sample library, sorry, I mean this, we are talking strings here, okay, Symphonia 1 strings, so I make sure I load them all into this one contact instance. And so this is just for the organizing, the way of how I organize my setup. Okay, so now I'm just going to name these, and the first one is, I just do a little sim 1, so I know it's Symphonia's 1 stuff, and I'm going to do like strings sustain. Then I'm going to create a new MIDI track. Yeah, add MIDI track. Sorry, I'm so used into shortcuts. So just let's do 1, because I just wanted to see that the track is already assigned to the contact. Now, if I do another MIDI track, I assigned Alt and Command and M for MIDI track. Okay, so I just hit Alt and Command and M for MIDI track, and I have the same going for Alt, Command and A for audio track. So I always use these shortcuts. Okay, so for now I'm doing just another one for the test and see, okay, the next track is automatically assigned to the contact and on MIDI channel 3. So I just go, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 instruments, so I need another 3. And I raise the count and say add track, and I got perfectly set up contact 5, MIDI channel 4, 5, and 6. So if I just check these, we got the sus strings here, we got the staccato stuff, we got the spiccato, we got the pizzicato here, we got the tremolo, and we got the sordino. I like this pitch. Okay, I think for now, yeah, we don't care about effects and stuff yet, so it's really just basic stuff. Okay, so let's close this. No, just let's rename them all. Sim 1. I just maybe strings. 1 strings spic. Always use it. Try to do it as short as possible. I could possibly, you know, like just str for strings, but pits. Zim. What do we got next? Pits, tremolo, and Zim 1 sordino. Actually, this is still important because I also got a Symphonia 2, so I just don't want to confuse them. Okay, so just double check. Okay, that's it for the strings. Oh, and by the way, I think a lot of people would ask me now, why don't you use key switches? And to be honest, I'm not really the biggest friend of key switches, because I can't see this. Let me just change this. I'm getting mad. Okay, yeah, key switches, I don't like them. Why? Because I like to layer stuff, or making sure I can blend stuff over to another articulation. So yeah, probably I should forgot one thing, and this would be Mikado. So we got this on channel 7 now. Let us set this up real quick, because this is Mikado is probably the most perfect example. Is it on 7? Okay. Okay, so if I just for the sake of demonstrating, if I just have a sustain patch, but I want to have a little bit of a tag to it. I mean, I usually don't do this while playing. I just do it when I'm just recorded, you know, the sustain stuff, and then I copy over the track to the Mikado track, or because I just want to maybe have like one bar, or you know, the first chord accented with a Mikado string. So just okay, so I have them both. So I have a little accent going, you know? It's like a sforzado or something, and I know I could simply use the mod wheel and do it, but sometimes it's nice to just have a little bit of a harsh dynamic, harsh start, whatever starting note. I could also use this with a staccato. The cool thing is the sustain mod wheel patch is not affected of on the velocity. I could, you know, it just reacts to the mod wheel, but the staccato program is affected by the velocity. Okay, so the way how hard I press the key. So this is very cool. If I layer it with sustain, I can control the mod. I can control the staccato with the velocity and the sustain stuff with the mod wheel. So I could do very soft stuff and sorry, I said soft. Tiny, very soft accent, and raise it, or I could, you know, go like. So that's the way. You could never do this with a key switch. I mean, of course, I could load several tracks and basically use key switch for one track and add some more stuff, but I simply don't like it, you know. It's just an overview thing for me. I like to have it all laid out here and use it like this. Okay, so the next thing we do is colors. It's the most important, yeah, I always say most important thing, but one of the most important things to me, organizing thing again. And I don't know why strings are light green for me, always. I don't know why. It's just when I look at the colors, okay, this is how strings have to look like. The next thing would be a folder track. I couldn't live without folder tracks. So I make sure to set this folder to the top and call it strings. And I want the same folder as the tracks here. So I assign them all holding with the shift key and put them into the strings folder and close it. Okay, so for now we are done with the strings, and the good thing about the folder track is I can just move it in, move all the tracks into that folder and close it, and I have it out of my mind for now. Okay, so let's just save this again. So now we change it to 4, project file 4, and let's head to the brass. Well, maybe before we head to the brass, I just want to do one more thing, and I think it might be also a little bit cool to talk about this, because a lot of people would ask now, you just loaded one library, maybe you wanted to use more, or you want to use a more dry instrument. How do you set up the reverb stuff later and things like this? So to do this, to get a little bit into this, I'm just opening my Albion folder here, and for now I just wanted to load the legato patch, the violin legato patch here, okay? Because I really like this. And let's just load the close mic too, because to get a little bit more. And I also, oops, I would also like to, no, let's just load the ambience too, to get it rich. I also want to have the strings high. Let's in strings low folder and get the octave legato patch. Therefore, we have to create one more. Let me just use this shortcut here. One MIDI track, and it's very important to take care of that now, because we already have 2 instances. First one is set to channel 1. This one is set to channel 2, but it's still on the first instance. So let's do it like this, and also let's load the close and the ambient stuff and check it real quick. Perfect. So let's just name these. For Albion, I just used the A. Or we could write Alp and violins, legato, and this is violoncello. And so let's just use strings low, or no, strings octave, legato. Okay, and assign it to the same color and put it into the strings folder. Okay, so this is how it looks like. We could, you know, just use a, why is there no, there's a little line going, I'm not sure what this is, but whatever, not that important, I guess. It won't make the project explode. Okay, so for now, let's just save again and head over to the brass. The routing stuff and how to set up the channels and stuff, we talk about this later. So just for now, we just focus on the setting up the tracks. I'm actually sorry for these little coughs in between, but I recently had a cold, so you might still hear some, how do you say that, when the voice is kind of crappy. Okay, I try my best to not cough all the time. So let's head over to the brass section, and for now let's just load the sustain dynamic patch again. Then let's have the Mikado patch. Just minimize these, and the staccato patch. Yeah, that's for it. That's for the ensemble brass. Okay, so we already got a new MIDI track here. Set up. Make sure it's set up to this. Oh, sorry. Let's open this again so we can see when we create new MIDI tracks what's going on. So this is already set up right. Third instance MIDI channel 2, and another one MIDI channel 3. Okay, so this would be, sorry, sim 1 brass sustain, sim 1 brass Mikado, sim 1 brass staccato. And again, most important thing, yeah, blah, one of the most important things again is the color. Brass is always blue to me. I don't know, it is like this. Sorry, not a group, I just want a folder track. I also assigned Alt Command and O to folder track. I'm not sure why I use the O. Maybe I have the U of the, I just don't want to make something crash again. So I don't want to try what I set to F, so I just use the O, probably because of folder. So okay, so I name this brass, assign the same color, and put these brass tracks into this. For now, just let's use yeah, I'm aware. I mean, I could use you know, I just wanted to load some epic horns into this. Oh no, let's load some here, some cinebrass, and I just wanted to load the horn ensemble true legato. Yeah, I could load this into this instance, but I would have to take care of, I mean, I also could load assign it to a different output, you know, but I just like to have the library split. I mean, in the end, I think what amount of memory does a contact instance use? An empty one, like 50 megabytes or something. So, I mean, I really don't care if I use 50 megabytes more or less. So let's just make sure to set up a new instance for the Cinebrass legato horns. Okay, create. Here we go. Okay, horn ensemble true legato. So, and just in case we want to load more Cinebrass stuff, we already have a new instance set up. You know, I mean, it could easily happen that I want to add some Symphobia 1 brass, and suddenly I have like 15 instruments used, 15 MIDI slots, but I just wanted to add, you know, like another 4 or 5 Cinebrass patches, so I have a problem. So that's why I use also a new instance. Okay, so it's already assigned. Great. Okay, so let's name this Cinebrass horns legato and assign the color. And here we are. And as mentioned before, let's not take care of the routing stuff, and so just make sure to set up the instruments we need for now. Yeah, I mean, that should do it for a basic setup. Okay, so let's head over to the winds and open a new instance. And for this setup, for this template, let's just quickly load the sustain the sustain woodwinds from Symphobia 1, the vibrato dynamic patch. Okay, and staccato. Then, sorry, let's just assign these. Otherwise, we maybe get in trouble. Symphobia 1 woodwinds, sustain, and a new MIDI track. Make sure this is set to instant 5. Staccato. Okay. The same again. Woodwinds to me are red. I'm not sure, but it is like it is. Okay, so I feel comfortable with setting this up like this, and so I don't need to really think about why red are woodwinds or blue is brass and strings are green. Most important thing is that you can quickly recognize a folder or a complete bunch of tracks. I mean, if you got a project template set up with like, you know, like 200, 300, 500 or whatever, I heard guys having like 700 tracks or something, you could easily get very lost when you're not setting this up with colors. It just helps the eye, you know, to find stuff quickly. So what do we do now? I just want to have another instance. Yes, always let's load new instances. We got enough RAM for that. I just want to load the legato high woodwind patch from Albion. So make sure to switch on the close and the atmosphere. Beautiful. Let's change it to red. get it inside the folder, and hi Mikado, and save the project again. So what I also really want for this little template is the very beautiful VSL flute, and I just don't mess around with the ensemble now. I just go with the instruments, and I create a new MIDI track. And so the new thing is looks like this, and I open the window and go to the matrix and patch assign and load from the special edition. Just load the flute, legato flute 1 legato. Okay, takes a moment. And very important for me, again, a flute player is able to change dynamics in between notes. You know, you can, you know, I mean, it happened that you already used your mouth, so you know that you can, you know, breathe in and out a little bit harder and softer, and no, not on every note. It's hard to not use the word blow because it would sound a little bit, you know, maybe we have children watching and I don't want that. Okay, so I just I want to control. What I wanted to say was I want to control this flute with a mod wheel. Okay, the dynamics. So I put on velocity X fade, and I hit the right click on this guy here, and I just move the mod wheel because this red blinking tells me that MIDI learn is available. So I just move my mod wheel, and it's assigned to my mod wheel. Okay, so if I now play the flute, good. Okay, sorry, I'm not the best keyboard player, but it's enough to work as a composer. Oh, okay. So this is VSL flute, legato. Assign it the same color. Make sure this is all set up right here. Okay, so again, let's not care about volume and routing and stuff. I probably mentioned this once or twice. And head over to the percussions. Okay, so let's open a new instance here. Create. Okay, so for now I'm going to use, where we are here, the Spitfire percussion stuff, and just go to drums low and load the bass drum hits. And the timpani hits. Okay, so basically we could load, you know, all, I mean, lots of more stuff, but for now let's just limit it to the most important, and the symbol all patch. I mean, if I would feel that it's that I could use more, I could still expand, you know, my instance here and load more stuff to it. But for now, this is good. Okay, so let's name these. I just always like to call these Gran Casa hits, and open a new track, MIDI track. Let's make sure this is set to the right instance, and we got timpani hits and some more. It's already assigned the symbols. Oops. I think I hit another key too. So timpani hits. Yeah, like these. And the Grancasa hits. Okay, so yeah, right. Just assign the colors. Again, light orange or orange is always percussions for me. So create a new folder, name these percussions, perks, and make sure this is the same color. Close these. What I do now is I set up a new folder for, or a new instance first for melodic percussions. So I mean, it's probably not the right word. I'm not sure, but I always like to call them melodic percussions because it's tough to hit on and it has notes. Okay, so oh boy. Okay, so for now let's just load the oh, I mean, yeah, whatever. I mean, there's already a version 3 folder available, and I loaded the timpanis and the Grancasa from the previous folder. But I mean, that's okay for now. I'm a little bit lost. Okay, yeah, right. Let's metal. Let's load the tubular bells. And sorry, xylophone for now. Good. That should be it for our melodic percussion stuff. Why is this instance moving to the back? It's not set to foreground, to top, I mean. Okay, so tubular bells. I could, yeah, let's just do it right here too, because the percussion has Spitfire. Percussions, so F, SFP. And this is Spitfire percussions too. Sorry, I'm really picky on this, but again, I just want to have it as tidy as possible. Create a new folder. Sorry, let's finish the MIDI stuff first. So it's instance. We got the xylophone and SFP xylophone. Yeah, that's my color for the melodic percussion stuff. Melodic percussions. Okay, so finally we save, and we still need the harp. So new instance. Let's set it to always on top, and let's load the orchestra hub from Project Zem. And the close mic, the main, and the glissandi. Okay. Zem harp, main, and Zem harp gliss. Okay, that's it. And yeah, since the harp is actually, for me, I mean, sitting in the same category as the stringed instruments, at the very left front, I like them to have them green too. So harp, and put these into the folder. Oops. Okay. So, okay, that's it for the instruments. Let's save it again. I mean, I'm sure you would load much more instruments and different articulations and stuff, but again, it's just for the sake of having a basic template and how to set up the general structure, instead of being picky in what exactly to load and how to program it. And so that's basically the setup as we use it for now. Okay, so now let's go into the routing. And to do this, I add a group track, and we need one group track for the strings, one for brass, one for woods, one for percussion and melodic percussion, for harps, and we need one more. I'm going into this a bit later, and I don't like to have these into the group. Oh, maybe let's just leave them in here. Okay, so this would be strings. This is brass, woods, percussions, melodic percussions. Oops. Sorry, I'm that picky. I'm really a monk when it comes to it. It comes to this, but better like this than having it full of, you know, typos and chaotic stuff. Okay, so again, I also apply the colors to the group tracks. Melodic percussion, so I have perfect overview. Or maybe let's just use a little bit of a different green tone for the harp, so we can really separate it. And I have one final orchestra. Yeah, sorry, I forgot to describe this, to name this. This is a general orchestra stem group, sorry, or bus. I mean, in Logic it's buses. So here it's in Cubase it's group tracks, so it's basically the same. I'm just going to pull over my mixer. This is what we already got here. So we got the what I'm going to do first is blend off the MIDI tracks, because to be honest, I never used the MIDI tracks in the mixer. Because if I'm doing automations and stuff, I do it in the arranger window, and if I'm going to mix, I never use the MIDI tracks. I all do it with the with the VST output tracks, the instrument that's maybe wrong too. It's not really the instrument tracks, because you can set up instrument tracks, but for now we used MIDI tracks assigned to contact instances, and you could also use instrument tracks, but I just like to have it like this, so it's like just a habit to use MIDI tracks and the VST outputs from the instances. So let's just quickly get through this, and just how do I do this? Just to go sure and check back. This is the general strings output. No, sorry, this is the Symphonia strings output. Then we got the Albion. Sorry, this I should set it to top. Always on top. Okay. This is the Albion strings. Now we close these. We're done with this. The brass, sorry, also the library name, so we perfectly know what's going on. This is the Cinebrass horns. Well, it's just Cinebrass, just in case we add some more instruments. Again, if I would just load the trombones or the trumpets, I would of course load them inside the same instance, inside the same contact instance, but set up a different output from it. So I mean, you're pretty open to whatever you want. So there's no specific, sorry, no specific rule on how to handle this. The most important thing is that you feel comfortable working and not to follow orders. Okay, so Symphobia 1 woodwinds, and we also got the Albion woodwinds here, and we got the VSL flute. In this case, I just loaded one VSL instrument, so this is one output. I could load the ensemble software, but this might be a little bit too confusing, because I just want to, it's set up pretty easy, and it's really cool to work with it. But I mean, probably some or a lot of you guys watching this don't have it, so I just want to stick with the basic sequencer and get it done like this, without telling you need this and that and this and that to get this template going. Okay, close the woodwind folder, open the percussions. So here we got I think I put it all to the same output. Now, for now it's okay. So let's Spitfire percussions and sorry, yeah. SFP melodic percussions, and we got the harp. Sam harp. Good. Now we take care about the routing. So the first thing I'm going to do is assign the this Symphobia 1 strings output to my string group. Okay, the same I'm doing with the Albion string output. Strings, Symphobia brass, I route to brass. Cinebrass, I route to brass 2. The Symphobia woodwinds, I assign to general woodwinds. The same goes for the Albion woods and the VSL flute. Now you see why I set up different instances. I mean, I could use the same instance and create outputs inside the contact instance or whatever, and get more group tracks going, but doing it like this, it's really tidy, so you got a separate output for the VSL flute, so I can apply reverb, special reverb treating to this bus or the output, and then route it to the woodwinds and apply, for instance, a general woodwinds reverb. The Spitfire percussions, route to percussions. The same goes for the melodic stuff. Sorry, okay, no. Melodic percussions, and then to the harp. And now you see the group tracks here. So I just have to pull it over again for what I want to show now. Okay, I'm loading activated the strings sus patch, so you can see now that this is the output, the instrument output, and it's routed into the strings group track. Okay, so you have it here, and now I'm doing the following. I hold down my command key and select all these channels from strings to harp, hold my shift key and click into this slot here and route it to the orchestra. And now you see in this, every of these tracks are now automatically routed into this orchestra bus. Why so complicated? Because in the end it saves you a lot of work and treatment. If you, for instance, want to have a drum kit going or some non-orchestral ethnic percussions. So you basically don't maybe want to have these, or you don't want to have a general reverb on this too, because so that's the reason I'm setting up an orchestra bus. So I can have a special treatment like reverb and special EQ or whatever without affecting other instruments which have nothing to do with the orchestra itself. Okay, so I have a little bit more flexibility in when it comes to mixing and mastering. Or not mastering is maybe the wrong word, but mixing and, you know, sound editing and stuff. Okay, so this is the setup like this. Now let's just take care first of the instruments which are completely dry, which would be, so we don't need any special strings, yeah, room treatment, because the Symphobia strings are already recorded in place and in the room. But for now, yeah, let's just do it, you know. But first, sorry for the wait for the strings. We got all kind of room. Okay, so the one dry instruments we had was the VSL flute. So we just set up an instance of Quantum Leap Spaces I'm using for this, and the most important, you really could just use a delay, a simple delay, because the most important thing I want to achieve is the pre-delay. So we're going, I just load the Southern California Hall strings patch, and not setting it too wet. Let me close the mixer right now. And okay, if let's just get to the staccato, it's getting more obvious. I want to have, I mean, I really over exaggerating here. You hear the little pre-delay? Stop, stop. Okay, so I want this set to 80. Why to 80? This is my, how do you say, like a general rule I set up for me. So the strings is sitting in the front. You know, it's the instrument category which sits in the front. So it has the farthest distance to the back wall. Okay, so if strings play in front of me, in front of my ears, I hear the direct signal coming directly to me, but I also hear reflections from the back wall. So if I have strings in front of me, they are obviously further away from the back wall than, for instance, the brass. Okay, so I set up the pre-delay around like this, and I mean 90 milliseconds is not really, but you can hear like a little diddy, very tiny. But this is what really brings some, you know, magic to the more realistic room feeling. So again, you could really just use a little delay and set it to 90 milliseconds, and but for now we do it like this with the spaces, because I really like the result. The same we do for brass. So just to make it a little bit easy, I just hold my Alt key and drag it over and open it, and load or go to the orchestral hall, Southern California Orchestral Hall, and load the, where do we, here, this patch, the brass. And okay, so now we said the brass is sitting closer to the back wall than the strings, so we obviously have to lower the pre-delay, because the reflection from the instruments to the back wall and back to my ears is actually a bit shorter. You know, can you imagine this? I mean, the string sitting in front of me, the reflection, not the direct signal which goes to my ears, but the other the general sonic, the wave, the audio the audio waves are spreading in the room. Okay, so when the strings travel to the string signal travels to the back wall and back to my ears, it takes longer than the brass signal traveling to the back wall back to my ears. Okay, the distance is shorter, and therefore I am using a lower pre-delay. So let's just do something like this, and let's make sure to use the same wet signal. I mean, I could use, you know, do something like 20, and for the brass I'm going a little bit more wet. I mean, you see that it's that the number is lower than the other one, but you see the little minus, so it's actually more. Okay, and now let's load the same for this, because we don't have really a woodwind thing here, but let's just raise the pre-delay to 66 or something, because the woodwinds sit in between the strings and the brass. Okay, so again, the strings signal, which is bouncing back from the wall, takes longer than the woodwinds, and the woodwind signal takes longer than the brass, and the brass is the shortest. I mean, obviously the percussion stuff, but to not get the percussions too swampy and blurry, I do not apply reverb on that. Okay, now let's take care of the dry VSL flute. So if I select this here, the flute is still, I mean, there's already reverb on it. Sorry, maybe a little bit low. So for this flute we have to apply a little bit of special reverb, because compared to the Symphobia stuff and the Albion, the Symphobia and the Albion woodwinds, the flute is a little bit too dry still. So let's just make sure to load another instance here and just copy it over from the strings, or maybe just copy it over from the woodwinds. Nah, come on. Let's just maybe use a different concert hall, and let's disable the main woodwind reverb for now, and check out how this sounds. So we don't really need a lot of pre-delay here, so let's just put it like to whatever, 3 milliseconds. That we just get a little bit more room and maybe not too wet. Okay, so like 16. Now let's enable the other the main woodwinds reverb. Just compare it to the Albion stuff. So it's way more dry, the Albion stuff. So let's just quickly go to the Albion instance and maybe disable the atmosphere and lower the tree a little bit. Okay, that should do it for now. I mean, you could do better, and do a little bit more comparison, but basically that's the idea of. And to be honest, I don't want it 100% identical, you know, because I think it's pretty cool to layer libraries, and what actually adds a lot of depth is yeah, the different libraries and the different sounds, you know. I mean, I remember I don't know how many hours I spent on figuring out the right reverb and stuff, and I was really happy when I had exactly the same setup for, you know, VSL strings and other strings, but in the end it's so cool to just layer all the stuff and listen to what happens, you know, and then if it sounds wrong or something sounds wrong. So I very often layer very close a close microphone, like whatever Symphonia strings with close microphone to maybe Albion an Albion string instance without the close microphones, you know, just mix several libraries but mix the microphone instance or whatever. So I mean, the sky's the limit. You can do everything and test around and just do what you like most. I mean, there's it all ends up with an individual sound, and that is probably the main key to everybody, that no one sounds like everyone, but that you sound exactly like you. And it's like a logo, you know, or a corporate design, corporate identity for a company. So it's really your sound. So create your sound, and everybody, you know, might probably know you. So hey, that is guy whoever, you know, who did this. Okay, so let's check back this, and for now, finally, let's set up one. So sorry, I usually do the same for the harp what I did for the strings, because they sit in the same area in the same, well, category inside the room. So let's just check this back, how the, and also I like this the harp to be really close and not have like an additional harp reverb. I mean, again, if I compose a track now, if I would compose a track with this setup, I probably would realize, okay, I need a little bit more room on the harp, so I could still do that later. But I want to decide this when working. So this is, again, is just a basic setup. Okay, but what I'm doing is, because the harp is not sitting in the middle of the room, so I change this. I do not simply pan this over, but I would like to load the dual panner and just narrow the area where the signal is coming from. Sorry, just have to. Okay, so this is the original, and we limit it to the left. I'm not going too extreme. I mean, technically you would do it like this, you know, because the harp is sitting really in the corner. I mean, sorry harp players, you're not sitting in the corner, but you're sitting really left front. So, but I mean, it depends what role the harp is playing. If it just plays the main melody and you just want to really feature it, so it probably the best to put it right in the center, because I don't give a damn about physics when it doesn't sound good, you know. So the most important thing is that it really sounds good. Let's change the color here. Oops. Okay, so this is the setup for now. Now let's do some final tweaks here. Right, sorry, we still forgot to set up a main reverb. So let's just load another instance of this Quantum Leap Spaces and load a very long this digital Hollywood Hall here, a very long one, 5.2 seconds, but set it really to the back, probably like this. I mean, I have to listen to it and test it. Just load the strings. Move it up a little bit. Yeah, to get a really maybe a little bit more. Right, so just to have a little bit more artificial tail, which adds a little bit more epicness to the whole sound. And again, if you start composing, it might start really blurry, because maybe the you know, the ear notices the reverb different when you have the whole project going. So you can tweak as much as you want on listening to the single instruments. In the end, it doesn't sound good. So you have to really get over the final composition and reapproach reverb settings and save this as experience for your next template, or, you know, go back to your basic template and adjust this. Okay, so there is no way of a perfect setup, and it might vary for every project. And I mean, I can't count my templates anymore, but I'm pretty much trained. I'm a hardcore veteran when it comes to creating templates. Because yeah, I mean, I mean, how long is this tutorial now? Probably about an hour, but we did it in real time. Hey, and just for the basic stuff. So if you set up a good template for a project, or let me explain the other way around. It's always good to if you have a long project going, which it's lasting for, like, you know, you have to compose like 30 or 60 or 120 minutes for a game or whatever. It's always good to create a unique template for this project, because you not really change your sound too much, but you have something different going. You not sound like project A, you don't sound like project B, and maybe a customer asks you, hey, could you maybe get the same sound going as this game which was released like a few months ago and you did music for and sounded awesome. I just want exactly the same sound, you know, not don't get me wrong, not the same music, the same content, but just the sound quality. Okay, so you can say, okay, just let me pull out my template, load my template from this game back then, and get this going. Yeah, just one more tweak, which is very important for me on the master output. I always tend to load a little limiter. For this, I'm using the L3LL, the multi-stereo limiter, because I'm a little bit more flexible with this, because it's not just a limiter. It just does not, you know, push up your track or raise the volume, or just limit and avoids the peaks and stuff. But I also already got a little bit of an EQ going, so I could, you know, for when I'm arranging, I have a option already to tweak sound a little bit, and then finally get rid of this setting and start really from scratch by loading compressors and, you know, my inflator and stuff. So Okay, I'm sure I forgot something, but I'm not sure what. But so if you have suggestions and questions, or I forgot something and you still want to know about this, please make sure to write comments. And I would also be happy if you like and share this video. And just in case you think, of course, just in case you think it was helpful. Oh yes, actually, I almost forgot about the most important thing. we want to convert this project as a template. That's why we did this tutorial. Okay, so for this, we just go to the file thing here, to the menu, and say save as template. And now we see this little window here, and I just name this scratch template. Okay, now I hit OK and it saves. And if I could check back, just go to save template, and I got my scratch template in here. And if I just leave this project open for now, but if I hit now Command in N, or open, just let's do it like this, file, new project, we see in this little list that we got our scratch template here. So if I would now choose it and hit continue, it would load exactly what we did in this tutorial, and you would have a clean, empty template and you're ready to work. Okay, so that's finally it. See you next time. Bye.